Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim, and thank you all so much for all the love and support you all showing me here with You Are Super Sweet. So today we'll be talking something very important, and it's about the video that Juliana Margulies actually made. I mean, she went on a podcast to say some nasty things about Black people, right? One of the things she said that Black people have been brainwashed to hate the Jews, and I am asking, why are they brainwashed? Because she is also saying that the Jews also helped for Black people during the civil rights movement. And now let me make this thing very clear that everybody, I mean, I don't know why they are all shook up or why they are in distress because Black people are not supporting the Jews. I have no idea why they are all stressed and tensed up. But whatever Black people do for anybody or any group of people is not transactional. Probably because they spoke up that what is going on is wrong, does not, or because she supported them sometime, does not mean that eventually when you are doing something wrong, they are also going to support you. Coming out to say that Black people are not smart enough, that they are unintelligent, that because if you all are smart enough, you all are supposed to understand that the Jews were the ones that fought for you during the slavery, and which she actually got all wrong and all mixed up because she said during the Jim Crow, and you all already know that during the Jim Crow, slavery almost has ended. Let's get into this video.
The good wife, Juliana Margulies, says that she wants to apologize for saying that Black people have been brainwashed to hate Jewish people. She appeared on a podcast called The Back Room with Andy Ostroy on November the 21st, where she was discussing the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas. And she stated that Black people should be completely supporting Israel, but have not been, because we've been brainwashed to hate Jewish people. She goes on to say that Black people should watch a 2022 documentary called The U.S. and the Holocaust because she doesn't know who's been teaching us all this time. And she feels that watching that documentary, we will see how the Yazidis got their playbook from how the United States treated slaves during the Jim Crow South. I would like to inform Juliana Margulies that Black people were not slaves during Jim Crow because slavery had ended for almost 70 years. And that categorizing liberated Black people as slaves, even in today's context, reveals her underlying beliefs of how she really feels about Black people and her inability to recognize them as liberated citizens of the United States. She then goes on to say that where is the history lesson in that? Because the entire Jewish community stood with Black people and fight for civil rights. And because the fact that the entire Black community isn't standing with them, to her, it says either that they just don't know about history or they've been brainwashed to hate Jewish people. I would like to introduce Juliana Margulies to Maurice Berger. He is the author of the book called White Lies, since Juliana thinks that we don't read and we don't know about history. Maurice, who is a Jewish man who did fight for civil rights for African Americans in the artistic space, started his book off with a prologue about his mother. Moments after a television news bulletin announced that Martin Luther King Jr. was dead, my mother said that he deserved to die. His mother, who was also Jewish and did not like Black people, felt that Martin Luther King was a troublemaker and that he was ungrateful to those brave and foolish white people who stood by his side in the civil rights movement. He goes on to say the things that my mother said about Dr. King were not inconsistent with some of the other things that she tried to teach me and my sister, that only light-skinned Blacks were worthy of our attention and respect, that Black people smelled like baked beans, that Black people were generally not as smart as white people, and that we should refer to Black people as. I would also like to inform Juliana Margulies that while you are horrified by the fact that your statements upset Black people, we are not horrified by that, and we do not give a fuck about your apology. And while we know that Israel does not equal Judaism or Jewish, we also know that not all Jewish people fought for civil rights. And therefore, your statement that Black people should completely support Israel is a fallacy. And you can keep your damn apology.
On today's episode of Where Are the Blacks, you have Old Girl from ER asking that very question and joining a very long list of other Hollywood nutcases who also asked that question many times over the last 8 weeks. Because why? Because they are obsessed. Honestly, the obsession with blackness at the moment is at an all-time high, as is the level of perversion attached to it. Juliana, you're obsessed. Yes, anti-blackness includes violence, it includes exploitation, but anti-blackness also includes a fetishization and consumption. And obsession. And your only access to blackness is through a little pea-sized portal called media. And the little morsel of access you get is enough to drive you fucking crazy. You guys make up fantasy scenarios. You build out imaginary behavioral studies. And of course, through all this, we have to deal with white amnesia. Anyway, this lady was on this man's podcast, never heard of him, and literally had to swallow back the slurs that were on the tip of her tongue. In the podcast, she accused the blacks of turning their back on the people who support them. Even peppers that statement by saying that black women, black people, black queer people are lower than Jews. And so how dare they not support Jewish people because Muslim people and Palestinian people will chop our heads off and use them as soccer balls. Which, babe, it's just not true. It's giving get off the podcast and get an MRI, babe, because you might have a fucking grapefruit-sized tumor in your head, hon. It's also giving I'm allowed to generalize anybody and everybody, but how dare anybody do that to me? She's under attack. I'm still trying to figure out from who, because last time I checked, she's just a rich white 6-year-old lady who lives in comfort and safety in America. She also uses the word Jewish as a catch-all term, as if us big-brained people haven't already learned to separate Judaism from Israel and from Zionism, babe. If we are specifically talking about Israel, Jules, this bozo has been signing off my tax dollars by the billions. What else do you need, Jules? Anyway, on the soccer ball front, if you scroll back a few videos, you will hear me talk about the unquenchable appetite for black gore. Something tells me that long before October 7th, that visual was at the top of her nightly dreams. It just doesn't come from nowhere. Anyway, the gracious violence trope, the, oh, well, they hurt people, or they, what you really want to say as an American white woman is that, look, you should be happy we're not doing that to you. But the part you always miss is we're not doing that to you anymore. You always forget the anymore part. It's not because you don't know the scale of America's history of horror. It's because you know it and you like it. Maybe even love it. Also, her demand for support and the way she's asking for it just shows that she has like no understanding of what solidarity is. I am not in solidarity with the murder of 20,000 people. I'm not in solidarity with old girl in Brooklyn who threw a coffee cup on that guy and his son. I'm not in solidarity with old girl who was spitting off of mall balconies and spitting on little black girls as well, talking about the blacks. I'm not in solidarity with the swarms of Zionist Karens who went up on protesters threatening to R-word them and their babies. I'm not in solidarity with them. I'm not in solidarity with propaganda that fucking gets 6-year-olds stabbed to death, babe, or has people being hunted on sidewalks in Vermont, babe. Does that click, Jules? Anyway, there are no other questions. I have a question for you. Question 1 is, have you ever made an effort to be in community with black people? Or did you make sure that the neighborhood that you live in and that the schools that you sent your kids to and the town you have your country house in looks like this? Or did you make sure to live very, very, very far away from the very people that you're suddenly so mad that you're not in community with? What's the answer, Jules? The question 2 there is, were you waiting for the blacks to come to you? Anyway, question 3. There's a very marked and sudden reaction and sudden sort of call for support after October 7th. But what about June in New Hampshire, or September at Disney, or October in Milwaukee? The flags, the hand signs, the gestures, the symbolism, the hero of this ilk. This is not the KKK. These are not Confederate flags. This is very specific symbolism from a very specific era in history, from a very specific genocide, Jules. Is this not urgent when it's pointed at drag queens or when it's pointed at Latin immigrants, Jules, or black people for that matter, Jules? Because black people in America are fighting against this symbolism, this ideology every single day, no days off, all day, every day, with no support, 0 breaks, Jules, while on top of that being gaslit by an entire country of people who tell us that it's not that serious and that we deserve it. So what's going on, Jules? This is why we talk about white supremacy, Jules, as a primary ideology between you, Michael Rappaport, Talia, Amy Schumer, and whoever else, Jules. What is it about the red, green, and white flag that is shockingly terrifying to you, more so than this? Why is this in America not forcing you to run onto the internet and to podcast to scream about how terrified you are, about how you're scared to wear your Star of David? Why is this not doing that for you in America right now? The answer is because your whiteness in America allows this to not be a threat to you anymore. So what's next, Jules? Is Amy Schumer going to step in and say that, her 8 black friends were upset with what you said and ask for an apology? Are you going to lose your job for being a racist? Is all future press going to force you to condemn violence against gay and black people? Is your agent going to drop you for being racist to black people, Jules? Or are they all going to decide for us that what you said wasn't that bad? that it doesn't deserve an apology. You shouldn't lose your job over it. That it's being taken out of context, and it's allowed some sort of understanding and nuance, Jules. What is your consequence for this, Jules? Answer that last question, go stand in the mirror, and then come back and ask if and why you deserve support.
The way white Hollywood will automatically default to it's black people's fault. It's crazy. Then they'll spend eons saying, "Oh, I'm not a racist. It's ain't. Why do you keep doing racist shit? Like, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck, babe. I'm not a racist. I'm gonna proceed to say some extremely racist shit and then give you a stale ass apology. But I swear I'm not a racist." What you said was pretty fucking racist, babe. It's pretty racist. To all of our Caucasian allies, and our Jewish allies, I hope you can see how we as black people quite literally be living in our own world. We be in our own bubble, just minding our own black ass business. Obviously helping out the Palestinians or whatever, like everybody else, literally like every other race of people, because every other country has joined in this fight. And for whatever reason, we live rent free in their head. Like, I want to say I don't get it, but baby, I do. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. It's nothing other than the jouet. Like, they're quite literally obsessed, okay? This woman got on national TV with her strong masculine face. Do you understand me? With her daddy's face. And perked them wrinkled lips up to tell the whole world that black people have been conditioned to hate Jews. We didn't even know you existed, honestly. That's no joke. Like, when I tell you I had to Google this woman, and I had been watching 2 seasons of the morning show before I realized that was her, the lady that my brain processed as an NPC on the morning show, because I quite literally never paid attention to her character. Whenever her character came on screen as Reese Witherspoon's love interest, it just never really processed in my brain, and it never stuck. So for her to all of a sudden have this random beef with black people is so out of turn and out of pocket, because baby, like I said, I quite literally have never heard of you. Don't know who you are, Julianne. Yeah, I know you are now because I Googled you. And it makes sense now because we are quite literally running rampant. I mean, living rent free in your head. We take up so much space, baby, and you were so bothered by just our mere existence and the fact that we disapprove of the Zionists in this country, because make it be known that the Jews stand with us. The Jews stand with us. The Zionists are the ones that you're speaking of, and you didn't need to include us in your racism, my love. We already knew you are. We can tell by just looking at you. You're racist. And for those of you who don't know what a racist may look like, they're caucus. That's all I got for you. This right here. She's got, but what about me written all over her face? What about me? I need attention. I need love. And I'm not sure exactly what it is about white Hollywood when they feel like they're not getting enough attention, or that someone's stealing their spotlight, to where they have to go poke the hornet's nest by doing some racist ass shit and then giving a stale ass literally saltine cracker ass apology. The Kardashians are famous, religiously famous for doing that. They do they shake the hornet's nest, hide their hands after poking the bear, and give a stale ass apology afterwards. This woman didn't even have the balls to go back on the same exact platform that she loudly and proudly said some bullshit, okay? And then because she realized her job was on the line and that she really wasn't about that life the way that she proclaimed she's about that life, then she backtracked like we all knew she would. But Julianne, my love, keep our name out your mouth. we don't know you. We don't care to know you. And this honestly ain't no beef. Like, we don't care. That's simply what it is. You can't paint the picture as did you not know that there are black Jews? Like, I'm so confused as to where this is coming from. I know where it's coming from. You're a Zionist and a racist, but I'm so confused. Like, when did you get who are you? And then when did you get balls to just like randomly start calling out black? Like, we don't think about you or any of white Hollywood. The only time we respond to white Hollywood is when they do crazy shit like this. To remind you yet again, you're not that girl. And it's always the ones with their daddy face. It's always the one with their daddy face. Baby, we're not to blame for that. We're not to blame for that.
Pay attention. If y'all want to understand racism, particularly racism when it comes from liberals, it's in this idea that, first of all, they know better than us. And that, second of all, anything that we do is because we don't know better. Poor us, we are not educated. We know not what we do. And you hear a lot of liberals, a lot of people who consider themselves not racist come out and say, the blacks just don't get it. And so we need to educate them. If we educate them, I mean, not to offend people, that's kind of how Christianity started. If we educate them, if we teach them of their wicked ways, then they will change. And that's a problem, because what that means is, what people aren't understanding is, when they say those types of things, they're saying that they're superior to us. They're saying that they know more than we know, and that we need to be guided by them. That we're so simple, right? You hear a lot of Republicans, and even black Republicans, say, well, they just don't know. Black people just automatically follow Democrats. I'll never forget this white girl I thought was my friend. She said, well, you just voted for Obama because he's black. I said, black people are the strictest and hardest on black people. Think about how many black people have run for president. We be like, nah, we ain't messing with you. But they really think that any decision we make is because we're not intelligent enough, that we're not researching enough, that we don't understand what we're doing. And that is such a common form of racism that they don't realize that they do. Also, what strikes me, this is the arrogance of me, is that while we're really technically a tiny part of the population, everybody always stressing about what we're doing and how we feeling and who we're backing and what group we see it as. Which is like the shit. But sometimes I'm like, y'all kind of obsessed with us because we're not really a major part of the contingency if you really think about it just as far as numbers. If you think about that we're about 13% of the population, but they are so worried about how the blacks are feeling and what the blacks are doing and what you never hear people coming out talking about no other group and how they're leaning. Regardless of if they have a majority, way more people than us, they always worried about us because guess what? They know that what we say and how we feel matters and sets a precedent and changes things. Girl, but yeah, people are tripped, child. I'm tired. I'm tired.
My understanding is that people aren't annoyed that she has an opinion. They are annoyed that she used black suffering and black trauma just to, I want to say, validate her stance on Palestine. And she brings in the black community and the LGBTQ plus community for no reason. And it implies that her support of said communities, however weak that support may be, like she confessed, she posted a black square on Instagram, however weak that support may be, is transactional. And she is upset that as a Jewish person, to see black people and LGBTQ plus people supporting Palestine, she feels is an affront to her because she is such an activist for those communities, in her mind, of course. So that's where the upset is. I don't think it's anything about her having an opinion. Even if her opinion is that Israel deserves to exist, it doesn't.
Listen up, Juliana Margu lies. I have so many things to say to you in response to your absolutely unhinged rant on that podcast of that milquetoast white man. I don't even know who he is, and I don't care. You said so many interesting things, but some of the things I want to highlight specifically and talk about to everyone else is like your constant conflation of Jewish people with Zionists, and how the backlash to everything Israel is doing and that young people are finding resonates within their hearts has everything to do with Zionism and nothing to do with Judaism. And it has everything to do with the Israeli government. And I especially want to talk about how you can fix your thin ass motherfucking lips to speak on the Black community and what you feel they owe you. Yeah, let's talk about all that. Number one, these they, them people, Black kids who are not rallying around the Jews, as you say, in your time of need, and how you think, we owe an apology to Native Americans because we're the biggest occupiers of all. No, first of all, that's on white people. That's not on Black people. I don't know if you know this, Juliana, but Black people were kidnapped and brought to the U.S. They didn't eradicate Native Americans who were here on Turtle Island and take all their land. That was white people. So Black people, that's got nothing to do with Black people. So sorry. So yeah, that argument is bullshit. Second of all, I love how you talk about the Blacks and how, you were the first person to run to the aid of the Blacks. When George Floyd died, you put a Black screen on your Instagram, and when, LGBTQ people needed you, you made a commercial for same-sex marriage, and you play a lesbian, so you're especially offended as a lesbian. That's all very hilarious to me, mostly because you are telling on yourself about how you do the most surface, cursory displays of allyship possible, and you think that should get you, I don't know, your bona fides, your activist bona fides. I don't know what you think that is, but it's not really doing anything. It's especially telling for me that you think like the best, like the foremost display of your allyship to the LGBTQ community is rallying for same-sex marriage, something that largely benefited like middle-class white LGBTQ folks. Very, very telling. Of course, that would be your main point of activism for that community. And bitch, because you play a lesbian on TV doesn't mean shit in real life. I don't know if you know this, but your characters are not real life. You are just an actress. I just want to let you know that. So you don't have any lived experience as a queer person, and you having anything to say about queer people and what they should feel like resonates with them and their lived experience is like wild. You were actually so wild for that, but such is the delusion of your average white middle-aged woman. You talk a lot about how the Jews were the one walking side by side with Black people for their rights in the civil rights era, and how is the Black community just abandoning the Jews now? First of all, bitch, we're not abandoning Jewish people. We're abandoning Zionists like yourself. And that's the thing that has fucking pissed me off about your entire rant. You have continuously conflated Zionism with all Jewish people especially the Jewish people who were radical and committed to civil liberties for all groups of people, and especially the ones who even today say no to this genocide, and it won't be in their names. You are not part of that group of people. I'm not in your community, and I'm going to fucking tell you that now. You are not part of that group of people. You're a Zionist, and nobody stands with you, bitch. Okay? We don't fucking stand with Zionists. And that's another reason why your little diatribe about the Black Lesbian Book Club in Colombia that said no Jews allowed was full of shit, because they said no Zionists allowed. And that is completely different, because there are Jewish people who are not Zionists. And they absolutely would have been allowed there. And everyone supports them now, because Jewish people who are not Zionists and see the evils of this genocide are absolutely standing hand in hand, arm in arm with the rest of the international community who loudly proclaims how evil this genocide is. You're not a part of that because you're a white supremacist Zionist. Sorry, bitch. You don't get to sit at our table, and I know that hurts you. Another thing you talked about was, like, it's so unfathomable how young people now are supporting Hamas, supporting Osama bin Laden. No, you actual fucking walnut. People are supporting resistance to imperialism and settler colonialism and oppression. And they are supporting shining a light on the hypocrisy of America being like the top watchdog of the entire world as they commit atrocities and evils all over the world to the global south. That is what people are supporting. People are opening their eyes to that. They are not carte blanche supporting anyone, but they're just supporting the message of how hypocritical this government is, how complicit in evil all around the world it is, and how it's been oppressing people with the Israeli government for decades. And we're not going to close our eyes to that anymore. The propaganda doesn't work. I'm sorry. And it's so telling that people like you, Zionists like you, are so committed to shutting down social media, because, you know, social media is where the truth is being proliferated. Not everything on social media is great, but social media is so powerful, especially now. That's how we've been able to fight propaganda, and that's how we've been able to share the truth with one another and make sure that we all understand what Zionists are trying to tell us, like what they have been telling us for years, and it's been working, and we know that it's not going to work anymore. It's so telling that you are all against social media and think it should be banned and shut down. That's such a fascist move. That's a fascist ass move. And it's very telling that you want to shut down people from sharing the truth with one another because it doesn't serve your narrative. Like, you're a fascist white supremacist Zionist. And I'm sorry you don't feel supported, but no one fucking likes Zionists. You guys are uncool, okay? You're uncool and you're full of shit. I don't really care if that hurts your feelings, bitch. Nobody wants to stand with you because you guys suck and you support genocide. We don't like you. So I'm sorry you feel like nobody's on your side, but it's because no one is. We don't hate Jewish people. We love Jewish people who understand how terrible this genocide is and understand that there needs to be a ceasefire and understand that there needs to be peace in that region so that everyone can live side by side. We hate Zionists like you. So yeah, you're not going to feel supported. You're not going to find any support amongst young people who are on social media and telling the truth to one another. And I bet you're not that good of an actress. I heard you got Emmys or whatever, but I don't care. There's no way you could be that good an actress. You seem like you suck.
So if you've been with me for a while, you know that I'm not a huge fan of apologies, like an actual I'm sorry, for several reasons. Number one, they're words and they need actions behind them. Number two, depending on when that apology is given, it's often for the person doing the apologizing and not the person that received the harm or that was harmed. And number three, they're often made so quickly that nothing could actually possibly have been absorbed or learned before coming back and saying, hey, sorry about the harm. And Juliana Margulies is a prime example as to why. Juliana has said, I am horrified by the fact that statements I made on a recent podcast offended the Black and LGBTQIA+ communities. I am horrified by the fact that the statements I made on a recent podcast horrified that we're offended, not the actual statements. Guys, sorry I hurt your feelings, is essentially what she's saying. Communities that she truly loves and respects. She goes on to say, I want to be 100% clear. Racism, homophobia, sexism, or any prejudice against anyone's personal beliefs or identity are abhorrent to me. Full stop. I want people to stop using words and phrases that they use so wildly incorrectly. Because if this were full stop, Juliana, this would not have happened. Going on. Throughout my career, I have worked tirelessly to combat hate of all kinds. You know what? If anything else, she's consistent with the transactional allyship. End anti-Semitism. Speak out against terrorist groups like Hamas. And you know what? That's enough. Another thing that I say is that it is absolutely free to stay quiet. It is free to shut the fuck up. And when I say that, I'm not completely being sarcastic or facetious when I say that. I'm actually being 100% correct, because sometimes when you shut up, you don't say the things that make a situation worse than what it already was. Because what Juliana Margulies has let us know, that she does not actually care about the fact that she was blatantly anti-Black, tiptoed, or not even tiptoed, was Islamophobic, was homophobic, was transphobic. She was all of these things, and she's fine with that. Because she's not apologizing for the statements, she's apologizing for the fact that we're offended. That is no different than, I'm sorry your feelings got hurt. Or I'm sorry you feel that way. Has anybody ever said that to you in the midst of you being hurt by them? I'm sorry you feel that way. That's enough to make me ragey. You know what? I'm not surprised by any of this. I thought I'd be surprised by a statement at all, but realizing now that the statement made the day after all of this blew up, that tracks. That tracks. Jesus.
I've agreed to stand for white liberals, and at this point it almost feels as though they are trying to intentionally cause emotional injury to Black people. I was just on Twitter, and there's a video going viral of Juliana Margulies talking about the Blacks, and in particular how Palestinians hate Black people, and how as the Blacks, the Palestinians would behead us and then play with our disembodied heads. And it's well known that white people fantasize about violence against Black people, but something that's always bothered me is just how often they toy with how much Black people are hated. Like, white liberals make it plain how much they hate us. They see their presidents in solidarity with us as like charity for us. And then if we find solidarity with any other oppressed peoples that they are also oppressing, they go around and tell us how much those people hate us, knowing full well that that is the anti-Blackness they exported. And this is not to say the Palestinians feel like this at all, but the certainty with which they speak about how much Black people are hated by every other group of people, and then cast us as naive and unintelligent for seeing ourselves in other people, you make it plain you hate us and you think we don't know.
There are so many stitches to this video, so many stitches. But man, this is already 30 minutes, you know? And the fact that they keep dragging, I don't know, sincerely speaking, I don't know why people are on Black people. I mean, why they are targeting Black people only. Why do people have to tell people to support people? I mean, supporting people is something you do not ask for. It is what people do willingly. And when people look at what is going on and find out that what is going on is okay, they can choose whom they are supporting, right? But coming out to tell people, I mean, to call Black people names and make them, degrade them because they are not supporting who you are supporting is just out of pocket. Like, it is just stupidity, sincerely speaking. Excuse me. And I think, I mean, enough is enough of all of them, especially these Jewish supporters coming out all the time to drag Black people or telling Black people that they are being brainwashed. Brainwashed from what? Are you people not seeing? Are you blind or are you deaf? I mean, we all are wide awake. I mean, in broad daylight, seeing what is going on. And mind you, Black people supporting anybody they are supporting is not transactional. It is them looking and seeing that what is going on is wrong. That's why they chose whom they are speaking up for. So for you thinking that, because now this is the reason why you always see a pack going around looking for people to bribe, right? Because they are looking for people to support them. See, you all should leave Black people alone. If Black people refuse to support you, look for other people. I mean, there are some other people all over the world. But the truth is that they already know how powerful Black people are. Black people are natural influencers. Black people are born leaders. They know the power you all hold. So they feel like when you all come out, maybe when they bribe Black people or force them into speaking that they have to support the Jews, other people will listen to them. But Black people aren't into this because they are not into anything that got to do with transaction. It is then speaking up that what is going on is wrong, and it is wrong in every shade. I am sick of all of them waking up every day to come after Black people. Leave Black people alone. If Black people refuse to support you and they are not going to support you, go and look for other people. You are trying to, how do I say that? Emotional blackmail Black people, because you all are trying to tell us that the Jews supported civil rights movement. So I don't care if they supported or not. So because they supported civil rights movement or something, or maybe they probably spoke out at a particular point in time and all that, and you all are trying to tell Black people to support genocide. No, that is not going to happen. I mean, we are old enough to know what is good from bad. And it is quite unfortunate that as we are seeing what is unfolding, I mean, this thing that has happened or that is happening all over the world, Congo, Sudan, Palestine, has really opened my eyes to so many things. Knowing that some people, no matter how you threaten them, they are still not going to speak up and they are still not going to support you. Because this one is already more than telling somebody to support it. It is already them threatening Black people. You all can say it. Fight the squad. You all are seeing what they are doing to let them push them aside and bring people that, like you heard the video I posted yesterday. It's like, you know, something that they completely said. If you are not pro-Israel, if you are not pro-Israel, we are putting you by the side. So you have to be pro-Israel for you to benefit or for you to be in Congress and other things. I mean, I think number one is also, I do not even understand why some certain things are happening under United States. I mean, it looks like some people or the government looked away from what it's going. And I feel like the Jews or whatever, Israel is now the one running United States, because I don't see how another country will come into a particular country and have so much power, right? So in essence, what I am trying to say is, please, you all stop dragging Black people into your daily or I mean, when you all go to podcasts, all you all want to talk about is Black people this, Black people that, and all that. Leave Black people alone. If they refuse to support you, look for other people. If the other people refuse, now you all will understand. Like, there are some videos probably will be coming later. I hear people saying, now we saw through Black people, because Black people have been telling them all this while what is happening and what have they been doing and all that. They refuse to agree. But one thing I love about it is that eventually, you know, when they tell them something and they keep quiet or pretend like some other people are, like, you know, Asians and Latinos and all that, when Black people tell them something and they refuse to adhere to it, Black people don't bother, because eventually it is going to happen right in their faces. Excuse me. And they will say it straight up. You know? So for, what's her name again? I don't care anymore. But please, you all leave Black people alone into this, supporting Jews and all that. If you supported us for this thing, that is their own cup of tea. But because you all want Black people to go and support what is going on right now, because they support, it's not going to happen. It is not happening. So this is all I got to say. Let me know what you all think in the comment section. I'll see you all in my next video. Bye for now.